We are going to turn now to Robert, who is over in Roebuck. Robert, good evening to you. How are you this evening?
Hi, how you doing?
Hey.
I was going to ask a question about overtime pay.
Sure.
So if you're I understand if you're a salaried employee that overtime probably doesn't apply, but if you're a regular employee somewhere, just say at a grocery store or wherever it might be, and you're asked to work over 40 hours a week, does that still apply, the overtime law? I don't know. I know when I was growing up it did. I'm 57 years old now, but I have a young son now that works, and they ask him to work overtime a lot, but they still pay him the regular hourly pay when he works over a few hours.
Robert,
so
that's
I was
a
just
great
wondering
question.
about that.
Very good question.
Yeah, definitely, Robert. You're correct. The law has not changed since then. What was good for you is the same as good for employees today. Your son, if he is working over 40 hours in that work week and he's a non-exempt employee, he's due to be paid an hour and a half time, 1.5 hours times his normal base salary or base wage. So you and your son should contact an employment lawyer to figure out how best to address that issue. But yes, that is a violation.
Let me ask you this. Would you advise him to go with his son to the employer first, or at this point would you say, no, you need to go to an attorney? Because do you feel like the employer would be, since they haven't been doing right, that they wouldn't be adversarial?
Well, Melanie, good question.
Okay.
It's really going to depend on your relationship with that employer. Now, we tend to like our clients or employees to address situations at work with their formal HR or whatever reporting process they have in place to document that you have complained. Now, we do say that if you're going to complain, be sure and complain well. Make sure there's a written account of what you've discussed, and that record could protect you from future retaliation from that employer, from your son raising those complaints.
What I was talking about was the provisions in the law that punish employers if they punish employees for making wage and hour claims. Talk a little bit about that retaliation law real quick.
Sure, Kirby. So each of the federal laws that protect employees have built within them a retaliation component. And it simply states that if you have participated in a protected activity, your employer cannot adversely make a decision that adversely affects your employment because of that participation. So if you go to complain to your boss about, as we had the earlier call, unfair wage practices or discrimination or any other form of illegal conduct, that becomes a protected conversation. And that protection keeps you, really just punishes the employer further if they take an act of reprisal against you for speaking up.
Yeah, they can get hit with punitive damages.
That's right.
In some instances.
And you hear of this, I mean, you said it's the #1 call that you get, questions about that.
Sure.
Okay.
And we do, and pro tip, retaliation cases often are more successful.
Okay.
Because even if you can't prove the underlying discrimination actually occurred, you more than likely can prove, based on the facts, that the decision they made to adversely affect your employment was because you spoke up.
That's great to know. Wonderful. All right. Thank you so much for that.